Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that is realizing this week that even though it was released about 3 weeks ago, even though we reviewed it about 3 weeks ago, people are still not done complaining about Persuasion on Netflix. People are not ready to let it go. They're not ready to let it go. My name is Tosin and I am the host based up in the United Kingdom, somewhere in the middle of the country near Birmingham. And joining me, as always, on the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bolland.
Hello.
Sharon Bolland, the instigator, of our newfound hub of persuasion activity.
Yes.
Shall we say we found out if you don't know what I'm talking about, Netflix released a film called Persuasion, which is nominally an adaptation of Jane Austen's final finished novel, and it hit Netflix probably about 3 weeks ago as we're recording, and it has gone off. It sent Sharon off. I will quote from Sharon's review. I really, really want to swear right now. And we put that review up online and we have realized that we have hit a nerve because there's a lot of people out there, at least a lot of people for us, as I say. We're a small podcast. We're a small YouTube channel. We don't really have, but this has become like our most viewed video for a while. It is just people jumping on and people wanting to mostly wanted to jump on, agree with Sharon, and just join in this complaint pylon. Shall we say? I did not realize that there was that much emotion that had been stirred up by this film around Jane Austen and stuff, but apparently there is. Sharon, thank you for introducing me to a whole new world.
Yeah, I think Persuasion particularly is, I think, one of her most beloved novels because it isn't the most obvious one. I think because it's quieter, it's slower, it's got a slightly more melancholy air about it.
Yep.
It's not the most obvious one, and I think when someone takes that and then turns it into a frivolous rom-com, it's going to get people's backs up, and it did on a massive scale.
but what did I have to say is, okay, sometimes there are times when you do stuff and you put it out online and it goes onto the internet and then bad things happen. But every now and then there's a time when you realize this is the force for good this thing could be. And so how does it feel, Sharon, to have found your people and to have found that you are not alone in your despair about this version of Persuasion?
I'm not surprised. There's a lot of us out there who go about our lives. We're quite modest, quiet people, and then till someone riles us, and then hear me wrong. And I think that's what happens with that person you all sort of pass in the street and not even give them a second glance. They are probably a seething cauldron of emotion about all sorts of things, and you just have to tap into that. And I think we have tapped into that seething cauldron of emotion about that people, you dare to mess with our favorite book.
Yep. And it's been like putting a stick in the hornet's nest. So
Absolutely.
I thought we were done. I thought we were done with Persuasion last week because we put up our review of Persuasion. When people responded to us and we were like, oh wow, people get in touch with us, and we still like, oh, people have actually noticed that we've done something, so we like to give them a little bit of love back. So we actually made a second video, which was our response to our review, reading out what people had said about it, and we put that up online as well. It was also on the podcast, and people have kept commenting, and at some point I'm going to have to put a pin in it. At some point I'm going to have to say, okay, that's it. We cannot spend the first 20 minutes of the podcast talking about Persuasion like 2 months after the film was released. We cannot do it. At some point I'm going to have to, but not quite yet. So there are still some people who have gotten in touch with us, and I am still going to say thank you for getting in touch with us, and I'm going to put something in there about what I'm going to just read out what they've said to just say thank you for getting in touch with us, as I said. Right, so we've had Mary, we've had Logan, last week we had A. Jansen, and we had Sea of Ghosts, who also got in touch, and now we are going to continue with other people who've gotten in touch with us. And there's a person called Sanjiv Jhangiani, who loved your review, and he just said one minor correction. Although Wentworth would not have been a captain when he first proposed to Anne, he would have been a lieutenant or at least a midshipman, not just a rating. Now, I don't understand what this means, but Sharon, you straight away knew what this meant, and you went on there and you said, well done, you went on Sanjeev, you got me.
Yeah, no, I said absolutely, he is right. Because I did watch back the review because sometimes because we're not scripted, I think, as anyone who watches this will probably know, we're
It
not
should
scripted.
become very obvious very quickly. We're not scripted.
And we just talk. And so when I described Wentworth as a rating, he isn't a rating. He was an officer. So yeah, afterwards I thought I shouldn't have used that term. It wasn't the correct term to describe him. He was an officer. He would have gone in as a midshipman, as his business guy, and then he would have moved up through the ranks. And because one thing about the Navy, as opposed to the Army, was that you had to earn your promotions in the Navy. You couldn't buy a commission.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the subplots in the story of Persuasion about how that you meet several naval officers. You meet Admiral Croft, you meet Captains Harville and Captain Benwick, and it's really important because you can compare their lives to what Wentworth would have been had he married Anne at the age he did. Would he have got the success? Would he have got the promotion? So Sanjeev, wasn't it, was absolutely right. He wasn't a rating. He would have been an officer.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
well done.
It was a minor thing, but it's important to the story. So
yeah, well done, Sanjeev, and also well done, Sanjeev and Sharon, for having one of those rarest of things, which is a civil, polite exchange of slight disagreement over the internet, where it hasn't immediately become fight your own corner. How dare you say that? No. So yeah, well done to the both of you for having like a nice simple exchange over the internet. And let's see, who else do we have here? We have, there's someone called Vanessa, I want to say Knisley. That's Knizley, author. Vanessa Knisley, author. And while I was looking around to see what had happened with our review of Persuasion, I did notice that she had put up a video as well with 2 other author friends, and they put on their own review of Persuasion. Hey, Sean has just joined us.
Hey, hiya. Sorry, it's been a bit hectic.
No problem, Sean. We're just talking about the fact that 3 weeks after the film was reviewed and 3 weeks after the film was released, people are still not over Persuasion and people are still talking about
it. Good.
I know, honestly, Sean, this is like, when you have one of your rants, like when you talk about Batman, how both of us, when we start talking about Batman versus Superman, how we go off on rants. This is like the Jane Austen thing of it.
That's cool. It's cool, isn't it? That's good.
It's the Jane Austen Royal Rumble pylon.
So how many views has it had now?
It's getting close to 400.
Wow, that's good news, isn't it?
It's getting close to 400. Yeah, it is. So Vanessa Knisley, author, Vanessa, if you listen to this, I apologize, and please do tell me how to pronounce your name correctly. She simply says, "You 3 were fun to watch." So that's because I think it was me, you, and Holly, Sharon, on that one. It's like, "You 3 were fun to watch." 2 of my author friends and I put up a review as well, and we felt the exact same way. Strip the story of its meaning. So sad. I'm going to see what other reviews you have all done. So cool. I have to say, I don't think that there's going to be anything with that's full of the vitriol that the Persuasion review was full of. Unless you listen to the audio version of our thing and find our review of Rambo Last Blood, which Sharon reviewed and she wasn't even on the show. She only sent in an email that I had to read out. But you could read it. You could feel the vitriol coming through the written word.
Sharon is very measured normally, but this, when she does go, she goes. And quite justified, apparently.
Well, it seems to be the case. But after Sharon has said that, I don't think I'm going to be watching this film. So, and the final person who is going to touch with this is someone called Aya Bleute. For at least for now, I'm saying that I think at some point, Sean, I'm going to have to draw a line under this and say no more. No more Persuasion talk. But I think at the moment it's still quite fun. Final person is Aya Bleute, or Bleute, Bleute. She says, they made this movie for millennial and Gen Z generations. They literally think that we are too stupid to understand Jane Austen, so they had to dumb down her work for us. I am so glad that they got roasted for this. This adaptation is so condescending. Also, trying to attract a new audience doesn't work. It's like trying to make an action movie more romantic when your audience is mostly men. Eventually, no one will watch and you will lose millions of dollars. So, yeah, I don't know whether they lost millions of dollars, but I don't know. I mean, they might even be happy about all the notoriety this film is getting, because I'm not sure that they expected to have this many column inches when they made this film. I cannot. I mean,
that's really good. I suppose with YouTube algorithms, will it sort of show up from what people's interests, like with the
Yes, it will show from people's
Yeah.
interest.
Cool.
So okay, because I run the YouTube channel. Essentially I do all the nerdy stuff. I do all the nerdy button pushing on this podcast, and I've been going into the background, and I was showing Sharon a little bit, sharing my screen and showing her a little bit of what this whole thing looks like in the background and all that, and you can see that there's a lot of videos that are referring our video, that are recommending our video to people, and a lot of them have titles like "Persuasion, it's terrible. Persuasion is an abomination." So there's a whole sort of mini YouTube. There's a whole mini Persuasion corner of YouTube that we are now part of, that we have unwittingly bundled into, and people are finding that. And I've got to be honest, if I was going to think about the film that we were going to review, that would get us the most attention of anything that we've done, I would not have picked this one. I would not have picked this one. But that's one of the great things about human beings. Weird things happen and surprise you. So anyway, that is it. Please do continue getting in touch with us. If you see the Persuasion review, you like what you see. As people said, if we are fun to watch, like Vanessa says, watch something else. Watch other things that we do. Have a look at some of our playlists, all that. Or even, and I know this might be crazy, but even download a podcast and listen to the full podcast episodes that we've done, where we talk about different things, where what we do, and I haven't even said what we do on this podcast. We don't just talk about persuasion. This isn't just the Persuasion corner, even though I'm beginning to think that we need to rename our YouTube channel something like Persuasion is a Joke. It isn't that we actually go to the cinema when they have films on for us to watch, and we watch a couple of things in the cinema. We watch things at home. We pick them out.